guys, we are live. I'm talking with Dustin from Royal Retros in the USFL shop. If you don't know what he's got going on, he's got some of the best gear out there for the USFL. But how I found him was his UFL stuff. He's got plenty of awesome shirts and merch. Dustin, thanks for coming on today, man.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you having me.
So, how did this whole situation start with Royal Retros? I think and if memory serves me right, I probably saw you around 2020, 2021. Does that sound about right?
That's when the name changed to Royal Retros. It was called 503 Sports before that. So I guess officially the 503 Sports would have started in like 2016.
So, how did you come up with it? You and your buddies and whatnot. How did it like begin to happen and everything like that? What was the brain trust of 503 to Royal Retros?
Um, it kind of just happened. Wasn't like planned. So when I was in college. It's probably around 2015. Um, I was living in Portland, and all the Ross, TJ Maxx, all those kind of stores at the time were getting all the Nike merchandise because Nike's in Portland. So they had like $200 jerseys for like $20 at Ross and stuff like that. So when I was in college, I was just grabbing them all at the stores and reselling them. Um, and they kind of caught on, and I kind of tied up, and people were asking like, "Well, where do you get those jerseys?" Like, so I started getting stuff made. People was asking about old teams, like they had the Beavers, were a minor league team here, and the Mavericks. People were like, "Well, I can't find it," so I just started working, trying to find factories to make it, and um, eventually, like mid 2016, I was like, "Well, I just start doing this as a business," and it kind of just took off from there, doing the old defunct teams at that point.
Now, I remember that because I think I saw like a St. Louis Stampede and then like the St. Louis Browns were some of the big ones that I saw. How did how did the jackets come about? Like that's the big thing everyone's seeing on social media right now. All these USFL jackets have been extremely prominent right now.
Those are just the most of them are pretty similar designs from the '80s. That was kind of the original USFL. Their thing was kind of the satin sideline jacket. So um, we were doing them for a little bit, and they weren't really that popular. And then actually last year, Shea Patterson, when he was on the Panthers, he was asking about them. He's like, "Do you still do those?" And I was like, "Well, they weren't really selling, but now that the USFL's back, let's try it again." And then unfortunately, he wasn't on the team anymore by the time they came out, so he never got one. But if he's watching, Jay Patterson, I got a jacket for you. But then, so yeah, going into this year, kind of in the winter, we just did one for each of the new teams. So um, they seem to be pretty popular. People like them.
Do you have a lot of the players always doing that for you, especially in the USFL of like things like, hey man, like could you do this, could you do that, and whatnot?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's why it does so well in these smaller leagues, especially the families. They want to wear a jersey, or it's not a big selection like an NFL player. They're going to get anything they want for free, and there's 50 brands making whatever they want. So this is kind of like a nice little niche for our companies where we just kind of listen to what they want. Um, Hopefully, we can kind of expand that to where we could work with selling players jerseys just as is, kind of work with the players union going forward and do something like that. But yeah, it's nice. It works out both ways because they get something that's a little special and different than everyone else, and we get to come up with ideas and talk to them. So.
Has that been the biggest issue for you as far as with the USFL, like just working with the players union right now to make this an accessible thing, or are you having a lot of pushback from Fox or anything like that?
So we don't work with Fox. Never have. Tried to when the league started, but we had already been doing the '80s league since for about 7 years when they started. So 2016 we started doing the '80s league, and so yeah, we tried to work with them, and they weren't really having it. So we kind of did our own thing. So that's why we use the old logos, and they
Yeah.
have their new ones. But no, we haven't really approached the players union yet. I've mostly just talked to players individually. But there just seems to be interest with fans where, like that's my favorite player. I want to just grab his jersey. Don't want to have something custom made, and so that's kind of looking forward. Hopefully, we can get into something like that where we could just have some of your favorite players ready to go, have them by game day.
Has it been the same path as far as with the XFL as well? As far as especially with like the 2001 merch, like I think Trey Watson was wearing a "He Hate Me" jersey when he was going. I'm sure there's been a lot of players that have been wearing, uh, you know, 2001 merch and whatnot. How has that whole process been building that? Reinventing essentially the 2001 brand again.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, it started originally with the 2020 XFL where that was kind of getting popular, coming back, and then that died unfortunately. So tried it again, but no, I've been trying to contact them since 2020, since Redbird and the Rock took over, because I'd love to work with them, but just no response whatsoever on their part. So kind of the same deal with we just go straight to the players and Trey too. His dad played in NFL Europe
Yeah,
too, so he wanted a Dragons jersey from his dad as well. So
yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool. And Trey's one of the coolest dudes on that team. I did an interview with him last week.
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he's been on point, man. I mean, I like at a couple of these Battlehawks games. It's something I saw a lot was a lot of uh, Memphis Maniac jerseys. I'm sure that you've had a big part in that as well. Kind of,
Oh,
I think it helps reinventing the brand, not reinventing the brand, but continuing to remember. Because I feel like the 2023 league doesn't really acknowledge that 2001 happened.
yeah, I mean that's kind of the approach I'm taking because I like if you're gonna use the same name, like why not embrace all of it? What it was, it'd be especially teams like the Vipers, like why not have He Hate Me merchandise there, like the Vegas Outlaws, like just embrace what it was. As crazy as it was, the NFL has things that weren't great back in the day, but people still want to remember, how it used to be, and then just I like the original XFL though. I'm from the Bay Area, so I was a big Demons fan, and those were always sold out.
Well, it was something too, like when they announced, and maybe we're going to talk a little bit more business here, but when they announced that Vegas was coming back, when they announced Orlando was coming back, did you see like more of your sales for those brands go up? Like, have you seen more of that direct correlation when those brands were coming back in 2023 after the hiatus in 2020? If that makes sense, what I'm asking.
Yeah, I would say 2020 was more of a big boost, even though it wasn't those markets, just because it was 20 years later and
Yeah,
people remembering it. And then this time around, it wasn't as popular because people got, I feel like, whatever 2001 stuff, they kind of grabbed it in 2020, and this was more about a lot of people were looking for the 2020 um, style jerseys and stuff like that, which unfortunately we can't do it yet. Hopefully at some point, but so it was still like definitely He Hate Me stuff's always popular. The Las Vegas Outlaws is, and then I would say more in the markets that just had teams like Memphis. I was out there on was it Sunday for the Showboats game, and I saw a few Maniacs jerseys and hats out there, so it's pretty cool to see that. I think it's just the alt football as a whole. The whole spring football is just kind of a community, and people just want to remember, different leagues because nothing's lasted too long.
so there's been a lot of cross pollination then in that Memphis market for Maniacs gear to Showboats. Then, like you'll see a little bit of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I was like also in Birmingham over the weekend, and like I saw these people tailgating. They had flags on their truck. They had the Birmingham Iron. They had the Barracudas from the CFL. They had the what was it the Bolts, and even like the Americans from the 1970s World Football League. And they have every team that had in Birmingham at some point on their truck, and it was just cool. I had to go over there, and we just talked about all the leagues and stuff. So there's definitely a lot of people that have memories of it's more I think of representing their city rather than any specific team because they seem to come and go, especially in those kind of markets.
Does it kind of give you that joy to see like all these people, like essentially you're the cog that's moving the merch around a little bit? Because that's kind of, I talked with Reed about it a couple times. It seems like, Royal Retros is doing more for these leagues than sometimes the actual league will be doing for itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely take pride in it. Like to come from nothing, just I was just one guy selling stuff I found at Ross, you know what I mean? And then I remember like the first time seeing somebody wearing at that time it was 503 Sports. It just I went to a Mariners game and somebody had a Bellingham Mariners Griffey jersey, like his minor league jersey, and I saw them at a game and like I couldn't believe that somebody bought it and was wearing it up there. And so yeah, anytime I'm at a game, I try to travel to different games and meet people. And anytime I see someone wearing it, I got to stop and thank them for buying it. So I think it's just a lot. I'm more of a fan than anything. Like I collect jerseys and sports apparel my whole life, so I enjoy it. It's just kind of watching football and then like what's the best way that someone would want to represent it that's a fan like me because I want to wear it too.
I mean, but it's also the gratifying feeling of like of the players and their families, like you were saying, getting what they want to represent, people that they've seen work so hard to have any sort of platform and whatnot as well. I'm sure you get a lot of thank yous in the DMs and emails and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. It's great to see, especially because I know that there's just like a hole there. Like I'm sure you've seen like what the USFL and the XFL like put out as far as jerseys and stuff, like the printed ones that aren't the right color, or the XFL $200 for really poor quality. So it's like there's a hole there, and like it just makes the league and the players and everything feel more professional because it's like it's something high quality. It's something that represents somebody and like you said, what you've worked for. But it's a good quality where it really shows that because I mean these are guys playing on national TV, you know, and a lot of people try to act. There's like a huge mix with these leagues right now with them starting out as far as you see really like low quality merchandise, but then they're on national TV and they're recognizable, and these are top tier players. So it's like it's got to level out at some point where everything comes together in a professional way if they want to last. So I definitely want to be a part of that, and I want all the leagues to succeed. I know it's a competition right now. I feel like at some point USFL and XFL are gonna have to play each other in a championship or merge or something. But I feel like it's gonna take everybody working together to make it last.
You get a lot of that as well. Kind of being this central mediator a little bit. Like some people saying, "Hey, you don't do enough XFL. You don't do enough USFL? Do you kind of get caught in this alt league crossfire at all?"
No, not at all. Actually, I feel like all the football people, all the fans are very happy. The leagues themselves really want nothing to do with us. So it's like the big business hates us, the fans like it. So we're kind of caught in the middle of like we want to work with the leagues, we want to be, I feel like that's just my goal. I'm like this, we're gonna do the best we can and show like what we can do, and just make what the fans want. And if we could work something out at some point, fine. But until then, we will just do whatever we can legally make with trademarks and names and everything. We'll do it the best that we can until everybody decides to work together. I feel like there's a lot of territorial wars right now between the two leagues with each other, and they want to work with who they want to work with, and so just keep pushing. I think it'll all come together at some point when people realize it's going to take everybody to make it work.
They've done a decent job of staying out of your way, or are they kind of over your shoulder at every time you try to put out a new product or something like that?
The XFL, never heard from them. I've tried. I've mailed stuff to them. I've gone through LinkedIn and tried to message everyone I could find that works with them. Like no response from anyone. So I guess I mean they're not angry, but they are not interested. Also, Fox. Yeah, we had talks when when they first started, and it just went really poorly. Um, Basically, just threatening me, um, trying to force bad deals on me, and threatening me if I didn't take them. And I was like, I don't do business like that. We were here before you guys, so if you want to be reasonable, we're here. If not, we'll do our own thing. So every once in a while, I get contacted, but nothing's ever put on the table that's reasonable for both parties. So we'll see.
Which is weird that Fox would do that since their Twitter accounts always tweet out the players wearing your gear and like I forget his name, but the Detroit wrestler Easy Mac is on their story with your jacket on, and I'm kind of like, if this guy was not the guy, then why are you doing all this? Why are you giving him free advertising? Because you're gonna look up if I like that jacket, like I'm gonna look up USFL jacket, and I'm gonna find you at some point. So it kind of blows my mind that they're giving you free advertisement, but also they've given you pushback on your stuff. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. I think a lot of it just comes down to they're so big that people don't know who makes what. You have photographers and social media people just, hey, that looks cool, let's post it. And then you have executives up top, because I've also heard from Fox employees who are asked to like not wear it at games. Like if they own Royal Retro stuff, they're asked like not wear it at the stadium if they worked for Fox. So like I don't know what they're doing. It's like we all work together and promote the league.
Yeah, I mean, especially with those jackets, man. I mean, I've talked about it like 3 times at this point, but I mean, those jackets are my my favorite thing. Obviously, the players' favorite thing right now because obviously you see what they're doing with breaking T. With like Magoo's got a shirt, Darius Victor's got a shirt, and whatnot. But it also seems like maybe that rule goes for the Fox employees, but the players are all wearing your stuff to the game and then tagging you in it and whatnot. So it's kind of this weird tightrope that I'm not really sure what's going on, and I'm
I
sure
mean,
you're
you're
kind of
not the only one.
yeah.
I mean, I know the players are unionized; they can do what they want, with who they want because they're part of the union. They're not like Fox employees per se. Um, but I mean, that's what I'm all about. Just football. I'm a football guy. I'm not, a corporate person. So that's all pushbacks up. It's not from any of the football people. I mean, Daryl Johnston came through the tailgate in Birmingham opening day. It was giving out Royal Retros towels and stuff, and he came through to talk to people, and so it's like he's a football guy. He's not the corporate guy. So it's like below that corporate level, everybody gets along, everybody's happy with it. But once you get past the USFL level up into the Fox level, that's when the problems are starting, I guess.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad place to be if the president of the league is willing to kind of play ball with you and you're not getting much resistance back from the comms people and whatnot. I think you're in a good place for that. Now, moving forward into 2023 and beyond, what you know? Well, let me backtrack. You want to
Sure.
talk about the deal with Royal or the Alumni Academy a little bit? How much of a big step was that for you as well for growing the brand?
That was huge just to get it out there. Especially because I've been trying to get into team uniforms a little bit, like on the field stuff as well as the fan stuff. So that was kind of a first try at being able to make something for the guys to wear on the field, ask how it fit, how it felt. So they're happy with it, but just getting the Royal Retros logo on there was huge. Um, Especially with a lot of these guys ended up in the USFL and the XFL afterwards. So it's like they were already familiar coming into the season since they were wearing it all the time. So it definitely felt a step up from to being, more of a professional level and being involved in the game to see it on the field.
Well, it's every time someone buys and tags you in, that's just expanding the network as well. Because some of those guys at the Alumni Academy, went back to the NFL or even went to Canada as well. is Canada a little bit goofy for you with everything going on? I know you have like the Barracudas, and I think you have the Memphis Mad Dogs on the website as well, right?
Yeah. A few years ago, I guess would have been the first year that New Era started doing their stuff. I had applied for a license with the CFL to do throwbacks because I know they don't sell any throwback stuff, and they said they liked it and that that time they had just signed a deal with New Era that made them exclusive, so they couldn't work with anyone um, that was doing like jerseys or hats or anything. So they said no. Um, but the teams like the Barracudas, they abandoned all those trademarks for all those American teams, and then I mean we do what we can to relate to the league, but until I guess there's some kind of re up with the New Era contract, we won't ever be able to do anything official until they figure out what they want to do there.
I mean, it's definitely a shame because you see all the good it's doing. You know, even bringing the NFL Europe team back. You know, obviously Trey's a great ambassador for that. You know, the old style USFL stuff, especially with the showboats. You know, making a pretty awesome. What's the word I'm looking for? Like they're doing a great job bringing it back and whatnot. Like you know, taking the colors. I was really impressed to see a lot of that because it was a little bit goofy to me to see. I like the old showboat stuff. So I mean, I definitely feel like the CFL is missing out on that. Is there anything as far as like your favorite brand and whatnot? Like, are you like, man, I love anything Memphis related? I know you said you were a big fan of the West Coast teams and whatnot to bring those back to life. And what is there anything that you're just like, man, I love this product that I have? Like, that's my go to, or is there something you would want to do in the future?
Um, just personally, just being from the Bay Area, I like to wear just stuff like that. I feel like represents where I'm from, and it's just a little bit different style than everybody's got a Giants hat on. So I'll put on like a San Francisco Seals, which is like a different style SF or something. It's just a little different, but I try to travel to as many games and events as I can, and I always just try to come up with something that relates to that team or that city, but that no one else is going to have, and kind of bring it there. And people always ask a lot of questions, or they'll remember it, or they'll say, "What's that?" Um, so I just every time I know I'm going somewhere, I try to think of something creative to bring out there. And tailgating is my favorite part. That's why I love football year round, because it's the one sport where people are going to be out there 3 hours before the game, and you can just walk around and meet people and talk. So I love that we got football year round now. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's the best way to tailgate and whatnot. Now, are you manufacturing these yourself right now? Is or have you expanded to a warehouse? If you don't mind me asking about like your
No, so I mean, I have, we don't own the suppliers. We work with a few different suppliers on different products, whatever they specialize in. And then we have a warehouse out in Dallas.
yeah.
So suppliers make it, ship it out to Dallas, and then everything gets, stored and sorted out there, and it ships out from Dallas.
Now, I'm sure coming back from doing that, what's his name, like Gary Vaynerchuk, Ross, buying and flipping to now.
Oh,
Yeah, coming at this at a business perspective, what would you tell a lot of these people to, like, is this expand? It seems like it's expanded beyond your wildest dreams to go from that hustle hobby for a couple extra dollars in the gas tank to, I don't know if this is your full time job, but it seems pretty close to it.
yeah. No, I mean, I just say keep pushing it. It is my full time job.
Oh yeah,
It wasn't meant to be. It's
yeah,
just I enjoyed it, and I mean it. If you enjoy it, you're gonna just spend that extra time. I mean, if you have a job that you don't like doing, you can't wait to get home and just stop. But it's just something I enjoy. Like I can't even. I'll be trying to watch a movie or something, and I'll come up with an idea, and I'll get up and go to the computer and start working again. And like, so I was like, if you enjoy what you're doing, I think you'll end up, you know, being successful, because you're just gonna want to put in that extra effort and time. So It's definitely not something I thought. I always became more out of necessity, honestly, when I got out of college and I just wasn't finding anything. And this business was part time. And then when the pandemic hit, I got laid off from my full time job. So I was like, I'm gonna have to just find a way to make a living with this. And that's when it really hit a new level, was kind of during 2020, 2021.
Yeah, I remember everyone had that stipend, that stimulus check, that cruising around and whatnot. So maybe threw a couple dollars your way to stimulate the Royal Retros economy.
Oh
So,
yeah, I needed that. I put a lot of money on the Niners in that Super Bowl,
oh,
and
yeah,
that was tough. And then the pandemic hit right after, so I was pretty happy to get that stimulus check.
yeah. We'll get your stimulus check and then get everyone else's stimulus check.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, people were like, "Oh, obviously, I just got furloughed. I need 3 Memphis Maniacs checks or jerseys right now."
Yeah, well, I mean that's that. As bad as that time was, I had nothing else to do. I mean, I was just sitting indoors 24 hours a day, so it was like I was working 12, 14 hours a day, because like what else are you gonna do? So that's kind of why it blew up at that time too. And then yeah, I feel like everyone else too was like shopping online, so they had nothing to do, just kind of browsing.
Yeah,
So it worked out for the best, but yeah, it was a tough time when
yeah.
it's
I was not. I was working as a medic in a Elmhurst hospital for a little bit in New York, and then I was with the news team during the protests. So
oh
I
wow.
uh, I did not social distance as much as others. So it's
Yeah,
pretty terrible for a little bit. But
I appreciate your help with all that situation. That was probably the worst place to be at the beginning, was New York.
yeah, I mean, it's a conversation for a different podcast. But
Yeah, sure.
I'll come on your show when you wearing my Michigan Panthers jacket. Um, I mean, that's not. I won't take too much of your time, man. But where can people find you over social media and everything like that?
Social media is just at royal.retros on Instagram, Royal Retros on Twitter, and then if you're into the USFL, it's a USFL shop, and we also have the NLB shop for the Negro Leagues merchandise. So those
Yeah,
are the specialty stores right now. Is the Negro Leagues and USFL shop.
I need to. What is it? The KC Monarchs. I need to get me something of that right now. I mean, Dustin's got those mini helmets, man. You all, if you're into, I'm big into the mini helmets. Y'all need to freaking check that out. He's got them in the classic, and now he's got the Revo Speeds now, which look pretty awesome. Um,
Yeah, you gotta check out. They're called 417 helmets. We don't make the helmets, but they sell them on the website, because I saw them and I was like, those are cool. We need to get
yeah,
them up on the website. So yeah, they do customs too. So they do like high school or whatever you need. They'll paint them custom and put decals on them.
yeah. No, he's doing a great job, man. I think my next purchase from you is I gotta get a Houston Gamblers one because I got a Clint Sig has come on the show and he's gonna come on when I'm in studio when he's done with the season. So I might have to do that for a giveaway. You know, put out the helmet, have him sign it, and then see what happens with that. Make someone very happy.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that.
All right, y'all. Well, you guys know where to follow. Find Dustin. Hit him up on Royal Retros, the USFL shop on Instagram and Twitter. Get some of his merch, man. And not only does he have awesome USFL stuff and XFL stuff, he's got stuff from all of these dead leagues and defunct leagues, going back to the World Football League, all that goofy stuff. So, not just for football, but for basketball and baseball. And I think he got some hockey stuff up there as well. So,
Oh
if you
yeah.
like Hartford Whalers merch, get it in while you can.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
No problem, man. Thank you so much.